Breaking news today. Does anybody feel like they're in a science fiction film? Maybe a series like Top 10, Hellraiser meets Jetsons? I mean, wow, it's getting intense out there, folks, but certainly happy to be alive and wonderful that I have an opportunity to share some
We
information
have nearly 300 beaches in
with
Puerto
you.
Rico,
Uh oh.
and each one is a reason to wait.
Stop. Okay, there we go. Apologies. I didn't realize that other screen was on. But did you hear that? Bunch of beaches. So anyway, we have a lot to talk about, and I'm going to blow your freaking minds. If this podcast doesn't absolutely blow your mind, then like I don't know. I mean, the information I'm going to share with you, you're going to look at and you're going to be like, "Wow, maybe we have been to Mars. Maybe you were right when you talked about certain people that came from Mars and colonized the planet. Maybe you were right when you brought up Cairo in Egypt, the native verb, the native definition, I should say, El Cairo, Cairo is camp of Mars. And now we're going back to Mars. And people are skeptical. They're like, well, we haven't even been to the moon, Rex. Well, how do you know? First of all, how do you know that? You don't. You're making an assumption. But we're going back to Mars, folks. And the technology that's already there, yeah, I'm going to share with you a document, a declassified CIA document that shows a session where a double blind study, like real remote viewing, if you know what real remote viewing is, where they use military protocols, that's double blind. That means the person that's doing the remote viewing has no idea what they're remote viewing. If you talk to somebody that says they remote viewed Mars and they knew they were remote viewing Mars before they did it, that's not remote viewing. That's using their imagination to visualize something on Mars. It might be right, but that's not what remote viewing is. And also, the North American Union. You've heard of the North American Union. It's been talked about for over 100 years. Well, we're pretty close. If there's going to be a North American Union, it's going to happen within the next few years, if it's going to happen. Like now is the time. And I'm going to share that with you. Wow. Greenland, Canada, possibly being brought under the umbrella, under the United Federation of America or the United States of America, also called the North American Union. Very interesting. But I'm going to give you an outline of how I see this happening, how I see the world playing out the next 4 to 40 years, as well as the future of space colonization to Mars. Get your ass back to Mars. That's a line from Total Recall, just so you know, if you haven't seen the original Total Recall. Arnold's in the film. I mean, there's a giant pyramid at the very end that Arnold manages to push the button and then creates an atmosphere on Mars that's breathable. Well, did you know the year before that film came out, there was the remote viewing session that I just mentioned where people remote viewed Mars, but they didn't know they were remote viewing Mars. Why don't I just show it to you? Or should I wait? What? Nah, I gotta build up to that. We got to start with the supercontinents. We got to start with a one world governing system that then gets allowed to. All right, so let's start at the beginning and then move up to Mars because I'm so excited to talk about Mars. I just can't hide it anymore. Also, I wanted to let you know, awesome opportunities coming up next week. If you want to join us for a free webinar, Jay and myself have been doing these free webinars, very successful. We're helping people build up their media empires, their social media, their YouTube channels, Instagram. There's so many different platforms now, and you can even do podcasting, which is really cool. So if you want to do the audio but not the video, but anyway, if you're interested, if you want to turn your passion into profit, and if you want to learn some of the ideas and some of the tactics used for that, then you definitely want to join us for the webinar. It's going to be next week. It's going to be via Zoom. It's totally free. So just send me an email or send me a text, and I will be happy to get you on the invite list. The email is leakproject@gmail.com, and my phone number is there in the description. So you can just send me a text. And we're going to have a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I've met a lot of really cool people with these webinars. But let's start out with the biggest moves that President Trump has already initiated in his new term, in his second term. What an interesting way that this took place, right? 4 years on, 4 years off, and then 4 years on again. Has that ever happened before? And do you know what else is really interesting? I remember before he was elected and when he was elected, I remember the chatter on the web about how he was somehow not going to make it the second term, but he was going to come back again. So it was like there was people already talking about this 3-term thing that took place. It's so interesting when you read through some of the old blogs and some of the old comments, the way that people predict things. It's absolutely incredible, whether it's psychic capabilities or just, I don't know, but it's quite fascinating. But this is what President Trump's doing right now. And it's great to see y'all. I hope you're having a beautiful day. I thank you very much for being here with me. So, national emergency declaration. President Trump has declared illegal immigration at the U.S.-Mexico border a national emergency. This declaration enables the administration to redirect military resources and funding to enhance border security measures, including the construction of additional physical barriers. You can read about that, Reuters. I think there was something also passed or presented to where now people can be extracted from schools and churches now. And I think that just happened. So the administration has ordered the deployment of U.S. military personnel to the southern border to assist in curbing illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and human smuggling activities. This move aims to bolster the capabilities of border enforcement agencies, Business Insider. And also, when he said this, I was like, wow. I remember he said this in the inauguration, designating cartels as terrorist organizations. That's a big freaking deal. So certain drug cartels have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations, allowing for more robust actions against their operations, including the potential use of military force. This designation aims to disrupt the activities of these groups more effectively. You can read about it, Reuters. Now, this one right here is very controversial, and I can see why. The revocation of birthright citizenship. An executive order has been signed to challenge the automatic granting of citizenship to children born in the U.S. to undocumented parents. This action is expected to face significant legal challenges as well as moral implications as it addresses interpretations of the 14th Amendment. Wall Street Journal. Was Z there? Was Xi Jinping at the inauguration? I don't think he was. I think that the vice president of China was there, but I don't think that Xi was there. Now, what was interesting was when President Trump made the remark about the Panama Canal, and I'm gonna get into that in a moment, when he said, we're taking the Panama Canal back because China's basically running it. I just thought to myself, if there's anybody there from the CCP after he made that comment, I wonder if they were, if that was kind of blindsiding them in a sense, like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that to happen. Like, remember when Trump made the comment about the electric vehicles and Musk was probably like, ow, that didn't feel too good. But then he goes on to talk about Mars, which we're going to get into in a minute. And what I'm about to share with you about Mars is going to blow your freaking mind. I don't care what you say. It's amazing. It is, my mind's blown because I remember reading this 10 years ago almost, this CIA document that's declassified now. And I saw the coordinates, but I didn't link the coordinates to the location. But I said, oh man, I wonder if that's Sedonia. And sure enough, folks, the coordinates are Sedonia. So it was a hit. Double blind remote viewing. That means the person that's given the envelope to do the remote viewing session has no idea what that envelope is, has no idea what the number is on it, no idea what they're remote viewing, and double blind verified Sedonia, my hometown. So cool. But anyway, we're also going to talk about the Stargate artificial intelligence infrastructure that's being presented with up to $500 billion worth of investments from, obviously. Did you see all the tycoons there? All the CEO tech gurus, all the billionaires? There was so much money in that room. I was just like, anybody that could get this many people together and to be calm enough is, that's skill right there. That is absolute skill. I don't care, like, good or bad. That is, you got to have some serious skills to get that many people in a room to connect, whatever. Like, how did you get that many different people to connect? How did you do it? I'm amazed. I'm still trying to figure that out. Like, because when I'm just assuming here, but with tons of money and tons of influence, what would make you want to change what you're doing and then network if that's out of your norm? And we'll get into the political spectrum more on a future podcast. I just find it fascinating. I'm trying to figure out how they got that many people together to back him. So anyway, we've got the reinstatement. Let's get back to some of the policies here. So the reinstatement of Remain in Mexico policy. The administration has reinstated the policy requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico while their U.S. immigration cases are processed, aiming to deter frivolous asylum claims and reduce the burden of U.S. immigration courts. Read about that, Reuters. And then Operation Safeguard. And then there's also Operation Lone Star. But Operation Safeguard, and wait until I get into the drones, folks. I've got some information about the drones that's going to blow your minds. So set to commence on January 21st, 2025. This operation involves immigration and customs enforcement targeting undocumented migrants with violent criminal histories in major urban areas with plans for rapid detention and expulsion. Wikipedia. There's also, as of January 22nd, Immigration and Customs Enforcement has initiated a series of operations targeting undocumented immigrants in major U.S. cities. Following directives from President Donald Trump's administration, these actions are part of a broader strategy to intensify immigration enforcement nationwide. You got Operation Safeguard launch. ICE commenced Operation Safeguard, focusing on detaining and expelling undocumented migrants from violent criminal histories from urban areas. And this initial phase targets over 300 individuals with criminal records. Egregious. Said that wrong. I can't believe I said that wrong. I know how to say it, but I'm not saying it right. Chicago raids. Chicago designated as the starting point due to its sanctuary city status and prior disagreements between President Trump and local leadership, has experienced a significant ICE presence. Approximately 150 agents have been deployed to conduct simultaneous raids across the city. Following Chicago, ICE plans to extend operations to other major cities, New York and Miami, aiming to address illegal immigration in multiple urban centers. CBS News. The administration has revoked previous guidelines that limited ICE and Customs and Borders protection from making arrests in sensitive areas such as schools, churches, and hospitals. This policy shift permits enforcement actions in locations that were previously off limits, raising concerns among immigrant communities and advocacy groups. The Guardian. Telling you, that's a pretty big deal. This is definitely going to cause a lot of division. And, the nation was founded on immigration. And then people are like, well, Rex, the people need to come in here legally. And look, I understand. I get it. But, most people here, I believe, are really just trying, whether they're from here or not, I think they really just want to do the best they can for their family. So I hope this doesn't get really bad. I hope it doesn't get really bad, because there's a lot of really good people in the world that aren't from here. I lived in Texas. And actually, when I was in Texas, interesting enough, growing up in a place, so I grew up in Utah, then I'm in Texas, and the environment was way different in Texas than it was Utah. And actually, a lot of times I felt like, I've always felt like the outsider. But anyway, it's going to be really interesting to see how far this goes. And right now, it sounds kind of scary, especially, I'm sure, for people that are here illegally, that, maybe they're working somewhere, they've got a job going, they're sending money back to their families or whatever. But this movement, I can see this movement where it's shifted so far to the right that now with these new policies and regulations, it's going to get intense. Listen to this. Official statements. Tom Homan, appointed as the administration's border czar, has emphasized a shock and awe approach to deportations, indicating that while the primary focus is on individuals with criminal records, no undocumented person is exempt from enforcement actions. Financial Times. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Now, when I was a kid, like I think the first I had a friend that I grew up with. His mom allegedly worked for a certain 3-letter organization, and she came out and talked about certain scriptures that are in Revelation that she thought might be similar to what could take place in the near future. And there was this list of people that came out allegedly, this is allegedly, that talked about certain things that they weren't supposed to. And so, but he was talking about, I remember Revelation and Mark of the Beast and the happy camps and the, if you didn't take the mark, what would happen and all that kind of stuff. And then there were several people several years later and at different times and different places in my life that warned me about the same thing. I remember I used to hang out at a coffee shop and would play chess, drink coffee, and obviously, what else do you do when you're at a coffee shop playing chess? What do you do before you go to the coffee shop and play chess? Everybody knows. Okay. So anyway, so that's what we did, right? That was the thing. I remember this one guy started coming around there talking about the New World Order and the Mark of the Beast and Revelation and the happy camps. And if you didn't take the mark, then, all this other stuff and how they would have checkpoints and you would have to change monies when you went through these checkpoints. And it was going to be a completely different reality. And so what was interesting is there were other people talking about similar things. And I've met many people that have been warned about this and had this like biblical end of times programming in their mind. Whether it's real or not, the programming is very real. I was being programmed at like 15, watching videos that this guy was showing of George Bush Sr. in his speech talking about the New World Order. So obviously, he could take that and then brainwash everybody watching the film and then add his own extra fears and mindset on that, and his own interpretation. Really interesting just thinking about it. But my point is, a lot of the stuff that I was warned about, it seems like certain things are actually taking place now. And so in this theory that we're talking about, in this live action role play for entertainment purposes only, with the merging of Canada and Greenland into the U.S., these continents, these super countries, these super nations have been talked about for well over 100 years. Possibly, we could, we'll stay out of that for now, but at least 100-something years. And it appears that is happening, or at least there's this push to bring it together. So what happens if you have a changing of the guard? And what would it take for that to take place? Well, who just resigned just a short while ago before President Trump came into office? Trudeau resigned. Why did he resign? I don't know. I'm asking you. If you're from Canada, I'd like to get your point of view on this. If you're from Greenland, I would love to get your point of view from this. I would, like me personally, but y'all know me, I'm a rebel. If somebody told me they wanted to buy my country, I would be a little bit offended. But at the same time, I would be offended. I would absolutely be offended. But I'd be like, well, who's the person that wants to buy this country? Are they freaking cool? They better be cool. But anyway, I wouldn't like that. But I can see this integration of Greenland, Canada, and the U.S. and possibly Mexico, unless Mexico somehow joins with like South America, Central America, and then you've got this other like super country down there. But we've been kind of conditioned to see what is taking place now through religion and scriptures and biblical texts and what people say and conspiracies and news. And so there's very powerful people behind the scenes that are very intelligent and they're very good at their craft and they're very patient. And it seems like some of these things are unfolding now. And another thing that is unfolding is this space race, Space Force, Mars, the moon, colonizing Mars, sending satellites around the moon, around Mars, around Earth. There's a lot, like you've got this major division with the public mind about traveling space. A lot of people think there's no way it's possible because you're going to get fried and cooked with radiation, and we just don't have the means to do it. We don't have the abilities to do it. And then you have other people that believe absolutely we're going to colonize space. A lot of people think we've already done it. A lot of people think stuff that's so far out when it comes to space, it's a little bit too extreme for me, but hey, God bless you. If you want to believe that, you're hanging out with Pleiadians and Zeta Reticulans are meeting up with you on the weekends, but then every once in a while you hang out with the reptoids. I mean, if that's what you want to think, right on, man. Whatever. I hope you're enjoying your experiences. But when I see these videos where they're like, yes, the reptoids talk to us and they're telling us about what's going to happen in the fifth dimension tomorrow. It's like, oh, wow, 48,000 views in 2 hours. I'm like, that's fascinating. So where's any evidence of that? Well, you have such and such that's summoning those words right now, and he's channeling the information, and that's how it comes out. And I'm not convinced, but hey, if you are, that's cool. However, back to the actual Mars phenomena, when you have double blind tests that you can verify with satellite imagery to the exterior, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's the kind of data I'm looking at and saying, okay, yes, this is some data that I can work with. This is some evidence that's valid to me. So let's go with it. Let's see where we go. If you're going to channel some freaking reptoid from the fifth dimension and tell me that, the savior's on the horizon and all you need to do is call him in with your mind, I'm like, dude, I'm not going there. But that's cool if you are, okay? So anyway, we've got this new push for like this real right wing, send all the illegal immigrants back, secure the borders, go to church, drink beer, smoke cigarettes, and work in the oil fields, and do not eat Pop-Tarts, and you will be fine. I'm being sarcastic, but that's the TV show that's out right now, Landman, if you're watching it. Perfect timing, by the way. It's amazing how in the series Landman, it's basically outlining a conditioning process for the mind to be like, oh, yes, I could see that now. So anyway, like, I'm all for, hey, cheers. America, oh yeah. I love America. I think it's a beautiful place. And that's why I think it's great that we can talk about stuff like this, because we're improving things. We're making things better. We're talking about it. We're following up with actions here. So we've got this push for cleaning up and making America healthy again. And I think that's great. Let's really make America healthy again. And if you're really going to make America healthy again, like I said, we need to go back to funding local farmers. We need to go back to funding mom and pop, and we need to figure out a way to actually pull this crap out, put in the good stuff, and we're all making money, and we're all, having a good time doing it, because that's where it really flourishes. But anyway, back to these bills that are being presented. We take back Panama Canal. Taiwan, I could see maybe there's some type of trade or exchange or some type of deal made where, well, I don't even want to say that, but let's just let's keep our eyes on Taiwan over the next couple years. Because if we do have supercontinents, super nations that are created and outlined, as an example, the North American Union would be one of them. Like, here's a map of the North American Union. And do you remember the Amero? This almost happened like 25 years ago. It was really close. So the North American Union coin, it's called the Amero, hypothetical currency for the North American Union. The Amero is modeled after the euro, the currency of the European Union. Canadian economist Herbert G. Grubel first proposed the Amero in 1999. The Amero was intended to circulate from Canada to Mexico. The North American Monetary Union. What appears like something's creating this North American Union right now. The United Federation of the Americas, United States. Oh, wait, I had another word for it, but unified. The Unified States of America. The Unified States of America. The North American Union, since at least the mid-19th century, halo, numerous concepts for a union among Canada, Mexico, and the United States, some including the Caribbean. The Central American and the South American countries have been proposed, such as the North American Technate. Thank you very much, Mermaid. That was very kind of you. Halo, going to Sizzler. Following the Maastricht Treaty, which is the foundation treaty of the European Union, concluded in 1992 between the then 12 member state of the European communities. It announced a new stage in the process. Okay, well, that's talking about, I think, the European Union. So this is from Powerful Countries on Instagram. And these were some quotes that were made, it looks like, by Donald Trump here, at least according to this. And if you can confirm this for me or confirm it for yourself, that'd be great. But in December of 2024, President-elect, which is now the President of the United States, Donald Trump, made various statements on the expansion of American territory. Some statements being serious and others joking. As you can see, the new American empire, maybe, possibly, maybe Canada should become the 51st state. Why are we subsidizing these countries? If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state. We are subsidizing Mexico and we are subsidizing Canada. If the principles, both moral and legal, of the magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to us in full, quickly, and without question. Ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Buckle up, Buttercup. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's intense. Wow. That's intense. I'm saying that's intense. I'm not saying anything else at the moment. I'm just like, wow, that's intense. So anyway, this is also intense, very intense. We will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars. President Trump wants astronauts to raise the American flag on Mars. Americans are explorers, builders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and pioneers. The spirit of the frontier is written into our hearts, Trump says. America, oh yeah! I love America. I do. I love it. I love it here. Colorado, love it. Utah, love it. The West, love it. The Midwest, it's great. I can take a few days in the Midwest. East Coast, it's got its own beauty as well. I like high elevation. I can run naked in the woods at high elevation. You can do that out here when it's 30 degrees outside. Just make sure there's nobody else around because you'll freak them out. And you got to do it on your own property. But you can get, oh wait, it's full out here. I'm sorry. There's no availability in Colorado. Totally full. Last I checked, I was like, yeah, because California, man, poor California. I love you, California. I hope you figure it out. I hope you figure it out. And I hope all the people out there figure it out. Because, like, you've had bad set of luck out there. So, Mars. Are you ready? This is going to blow your mind. And I need to do a exclusive podcast on this. 1984. What a year. 1984. What a year. Like, everywhere. 1984. Well, in 1984, May 22nd, there was a remote viewing session done through a organization that has affiliation with the CIA, or did at the time, the CIA. Now, the CIA, including other intelligence organizations, was and probably still is, because I remember reading a document that was declassified that described the new project that started after this Project Stargate. It was like, okay, well, we're going to close down Project Stargate, and then we're going to start this project. And then now we can always say, well, we closed that project down. So it's a great way to start something new, be quiet about it, and then continue to research. And then you can just say, oh, well, we closed that project. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But I mean, if it worked, we'd still be doing it, right? Well, we really are. It's just a new project. So anyway, Project Stargate, people, remote viewers were trained on how to use their mind to see things beyond space and time. So, and they do specific applications and they use specific steps and measures to make sure that you're actually remote viewing that object and you're not using your imagination to create the object or use your imagination to help sculpt and see in your mind, because that takes away from the remote viewing. This is military protocol stuff. Now, some of the people that say they do remote viewing now, wonderful people, but they're not doing real remote viewing. They're like, well, let me think it in my head real quick. Okay, yes, I'm talking to an alien right now, and the alien's saying that what we need to do is we need to be more Zen-like, and we need to do more yoga, and we need to go to this conference in Sedonia where we all hold hands, and it's about $5,000, and we all hold hands, and we all think about aliens, and they show up, and you have to wear yoga pants. You have to do a specific yoga pose for that, okay? I'm just saying. All right, Sedonia, we'll be there. $5,000, you're in. Okay. No, this is like actually remote viewing. You're given a piece of paper in an envelope that has a number on it, and that's all you get. And that number really has no connection to what you're remote viewing. Double blind, so they've got this location that they want remote viewed on Mars. Okay. Well, guess what, folks? When does Total Recall come out? When does Total Recall come out? In 1985. A year later, Total Recall comes out. It's all about Mars. Get your ass to Mars. So, anyway, you've got, and look, like, I'm not saying there's people out there that can't see things in their mind, even if they're told what it is. But I know they can. I know there's people that can do that. So I'm not knocking that at all. But to say you're remote viewing, you're not remote viewing. You're using a different technique to see that in your mind. If you're like, okay, I want to see what's inside the moon. I want to see what's inside the moon. Your mind is creating visualization of what you think is inside the moon. It might be right, but that's not what remote viewing is. Remote viewing is like, here's a piece of paper. There's numbers on this piece of paper. I want you to remote view what these numbers mean. And me giving you that piece of paper, somebody else has done the target. Somebody else has created the target. And let's say the target is Mars. Let's say the target is Sedonia Mars, like I'm going to show you right now. The target is Sedonia Mars. I'm going to write this number down. Doesn't have anything to do with Mars. I'm just writing a number down. I've got another envelope with the location and the coordinates that's sealed with Mars, with Sedonia. That's to the side. And this one has that number on it. So I've got the actual coordinates. I've got an image of Mars, satellite image, 1976, Viking orbiter. I'm looking at Sedonia Mars, and I'm going, there's no way that this is artificial. There's no way that this is natural. This is absolutely an ancient city, very similar to Egypt, ancient Egypt. This is huge. The technologies that they would need to make this is fascinating, especially considering how old it is. I'm looking at the image right here, and I'm going to put a number on this. So the number that I'm going to put on this is going to be 727-101-604-908. That's all that is on this piece of paper. I now put the piece of paper that's blank in an envelope, and then I put the Sedonia image with the number on it in an envelope. I seal it. I put it to the side. I then have a blank piece of I have a blank piece of paper with a number on it. That's it. I give this to Bob, and Bob is now going to go give this envelope to the remote viewer. Once again, all that's in the envelope is a number. So Bob, that got the envelope from Tim gives the envelope to Bob. Bob goes and gives the envelope to Sam, and Sam is now going to remote view based upon a number what he sees. Well, now, let's go. Before I tell you what he sees, before I tell you what Sam sees, I'm going to tell you the coordinates that I want Sam to remote view. 40.89 degrees north, 9.55 degrees west. Guess what? That is the Sedonia region on Mars, which is home to the face of Mars, a 5-sided pyramid, a network of pyramids, what's called the Wall, and what looks like an ancient city. So this is the location that Sam is remote viewing. So Sam's going to remote view Mars. So here goes. Sealed envelope coupled with geographic coordinates. The sealed envelope was given to the subject immediately prior to the interview. The envelope was not opened until after the interview. In the envelope was a 3x5 card with the following information. The planet Mars, time of interest approximately 1 million years ago, which is exactly what is said in Total Recall. A year later, it's a 1,000,000-year-old pyramid that reactivates the ozone. So we've got the planet Mars 1 million years ago. The coordinates are Sedonia. So now let's read what happens. Plus 10 minutes, ready to start. All right, now, using the information in the envelope, which is just a number, I provided exclusively, focusing your attention now, using the information in the envelope, focus on 40.89 degrees north, 9.55 degrees west. Oh, so I guess they do give them coordinates. I want to say it looks like, I don't know. It sort of looks like I kind of got an oblique view of a pyramid or a pyramid form. It's very high. It's kind of sitting in a large depressed area. All right. It's yellowish, ochre colored. All right. Moving time to the time indicated. So now you've got Bob and Sam. Sam's the guy doing the remote viewing. Bob's the guy that's talking to Sam. So Bob says, all right. Sam says, it's yellowish, ochre colored. All right. Moving time to the time indicated in the envelope I've provided you and describe what's happening. I'm tracking severe clouds, more like dust storm. It's geological problem. Seems to be like, just a minute. I got to iron this out. It's really weird. Just report your raw perceptions at this time. You're still early in the session. I'm looking at a after effect of major geological problem. Okay, go back to the time before the geological problem. Total difference. It's before there's no I don't know. Oh hell. It's like mountains of dirt appear and then disappear when you go before. See large flat surfaces, very smooth angles, walls. They're really large though. I mean, they're megalithic. All right. At this period in time, now before the geological activity, look around in and around this area and see if you can find any activity. I'm seeing, it's like a perception of a shadow of people. Very tall, thin. It's only a shadow. It's as if they were there and they're not there anymore. Go back to a period of time where they are there. That's kind of strange. It's like I get a lot of static on a line and everything is breaking up all the time. It's very fragmentary pieces. Just report the raw data. Don't try to put things together. Just report the raw data. I just keep seeing very large people. They appear thin and tall, but they're very large, wearing some kind of strange clothes. All right. Now holding in this time period, I want to move from your physical location in space to another physical location. But in this time period, move now to 46.45 north, 353.22 east. Move in this time to 46.45 north, 353.22 east. Deep inside of a cavern. Not a cavern, more like canyon. I'm looking up the sides of a steep wall that seem to go on forever. And there's like a structure with, it's like the wall of the canyon itself has been carved. Again, I'm getting a very large structure. No. No. Intricacies? Huge selections of smooth stone. Do the structures have insides and outsides? Yeah, it's like a rabbit warren corners of rooms. They're really huge. I don't feel like I'm standing in one of I don't feel like I'm standing in one. It's really huge. Perception is that the ceiling is very high. The walls are very wide. Real time plus 22 minutes. Yes, that would be correct. All right. I'd like to move now to another location nearby. All right. Move from this point in time to 45.86 north, 354.1 east. 45.86 north, 354.1 east. Now, I'm going to take a moment here. Super chat. Thank you very much, Charlie Bad Hands. How the heck are you? Red Mars, green Mars, blue Mars. When you merge them all together, it's like purple Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so I want to do something real quick. I want to go back 46.45 north. Mars. Location 46.45 north. And then, where are we at here? 353.22 east. Yep, it's already there for me. Thank you, Google. We've been watching. So I want to see this on Mars, though. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go back to so we know the first coordinates that are given is Sedonia. We know that for a fact. Now I just need to spend a few minutes and I need to get onto the Google Earth Mars maps and put these coordinates in and see what pulls up. But we know for a fact Sedonia region is the first location. It's ancient. It's 1 million years old. It's incredible. Then it describes a cataclysm that takes place that just utter devastation. And what's also fascinating is his description of the people. They're very tall, they're very thin, they're very large in stature. And if you read the book of Enoch and it describes the Nephilim, the offspring of the Watchers give certain technologies and arts to the people. They also fall in love with earth women. And so they fall in love, they have families, and they know that by doing that, they're not going to be allowed back because they're breaking protocol, but they're willing to take that risk and make that exception. But the Nephilim are described as the offspring being very large in stature as well. So I think that that's really interesting. And the gravity of Mars would be far different than Earth, especially 1 million years ago. So that could describe the difference in the physiological makeup of them still being bipedal and humanoid-like, human-like, very intelligent. And then something happens on Mars and they have to leave. They colonize Earth. That's why they left Mars, is because they had to. A major, major cataclysm. And I don't necessarily think it was a nuclear war on Mars. I think it was something else. I think it was interference from a planetary body. Like, imagine there's so many stories and descriptions of the lightning bolts, these massive thunderbolts of the gods. That could actually be from a planetary body getting within proximity of these other planets. And then you have what's called electrical arcing. Look up the Lichtenberg effect. Look up the Lichtenberg effect and then look at the Grand Canyon and Valley Marineris, which is the Grand Canyon of Mars. It's the biggest canyon of Mars. It takes up 1/3 of the face. It looks like something literally electrically carved that out. That does not look like it's from a volcano at all. Now, it could have been something actually from, maybe potentially there was something that for some reason they had to blow up that whole part of it. And so they buried a bunch of like nukes underneath it. But the way, if you look at it, it looks like electrical arcing. It doesn't look like nuclear explosion. It doesn't look like volcanic activity. It looks like electrical arcing. And so they leave Mars, they colonize Earth. What is Camp of Mars? Cairo, El Cairo, Camp of Mars. It's all there, folks. I mean, this is incredible. So let's go back to where they're at now. All right, now. Okay, where are we at? There's a large road. Yep, okay, here we are. They have appears to be the end of a very large road, and there's a marker thing that's very large. I keep getting a Washington Monument overlay. It's like an obelisk. Obelisk. Ah, obelisks. Mars, hello. All right, from this point then, let us move to another point. Move now to 35.26 north, 213.24 east. Moving this time to 35.26 north, 213.24 east. It's like I'm in the middle of a huge circular basin of the range mountains by almost all the way around. They're very ragged mountains, very tall. Basin's very, very, very large. Scale seems to be off or something. It's just really big. Everything's big. I understand the problem. Just continue. See just a right angle corner to something, but that's all. I don't see anything else. Then let's move into a little different place, very close. Move from the point you are now in this time to 34.6 north, 213.09 east. Move now in this time to 34.6 north, 213.09 east. The cluster of squares up and down, it's like you want to make them square anyway. They're almost flush with the ground, and it's like they're connected. Something very white or reflects light. Sounds like pyramid blocks, doesn't it? Like giant, massive, or giant, massive blocks that are smooth and polished and shiny. What about the granite boxes that weigh 100 tons, that are perfect? And they don't even know where the granite came from, allegedly. If they don't know where they got the black granite, they don't know how they got them down there, I got a pretty good idea. So, what's your position of observation as you look at this thing that reflects light? I'm amid oblique left angle. Sun is weird. Look back down at the ground now. And we're going to move just a little bit from this place, just a little bit from this place. (34.57 north, 212.22 east. Very close by. Now move over now to 34.57 north, 212.22 east. It's like I can just perceive like a radiating pattern of some kind. It's like some really strange intersecting kind of roads that are dug into valleys, you know, where a road is just a little below the edge. Tell me about the shapes of these things. They're like real neat channels cut. They're very deep. It's like the road went down. Okay, now I notice electrically you're nulled out a little bit. And I want you to stay deep and recapture your focus here. I'll bet you he's hooked up to EEGs. I'll bet you, man, they used to hook me up to an EEG twice a year for like 8 years. Every year I had to go, and they would sit there with these, like, they'd have a pencil and they'd mark my head and then put a like little glue thing, transducers all over my head. And then I'd have to lay there and I'd be like, okay, they'd be like, don't you move. And if I even swallowed, they'd be like, you can't do that. And I'd be like, oh, I can't do that. I was just a little kid. And it sounds like that they've got this guy hooked up to an EEG also, man. Because it says, I notice electrically you're nulled out a little bit. And I want you to stay deep and recapture your focus here. So it's like they've got him hooked up to an EEG system. They're looking at his brainwaves as he's doing this. And have you noticed they're very specific with these coordinates? So I'll bet you $100. Well, not literally, but if there were betting odds in Vegas that I could go and say, man, what are the betting odds? These locations, I bet they picked up when they did the Viking orbiter launch. They saw these things and they're like, look, we got to know more about these locations. So let's do some remote viewing on it. And let's see if these remote viewers pick up the same thing our satellites picked up. And then let's take them back 1 million years prior and see what was going on there. There was a highly advanced, and there still is, but most of it's underground now. I'd be willing to bet. On Mars, highly advanced, but the population is so minimal now because of the conditions on the surface. And I don't even know, like, how old is this? How long ago did this happen? 1 million years ago? Or did the event take, the colony was there, they were there 1 million years ago, highly advanced 1 million years ago. They were probably colonizing space 1 million years ago, folks. So think about that. We think we're just going to space now? No. This is a repeating pattern. How many times have we gone to the stars before as a civilization, as a society, and then something happened that took us back to the Stone Age? Literally. Hiding in caves, hunting and gathering. Most information lost. Certain civilizations still break away and survive and thrive and continue to improve their abilities and technologies. But civilization as a whole, we're a species with amnesia, it appears. Like, we're attempting to figure out what happened, but we're still putting these pieces together. We don't even know our true history. And we're trying to find it. The most influential people in the world don't even know what's going on to some degree. And I know this because Christopher O'Brien was a personal friend of mine, and he knew he was connected, like he was doing work as far as investigations for one of the richest people on the planet. What was this guy's name? One of the founders of a certain bank. And was it Rothschild? Might have been a Rothschild. Anyway, I can't believe I'm not remembering off the top of my head. He writes about it in his books. And he even asked him when he met him, he said, why? Because when he met him at the time, when Christopher met him, it's got to be a Rothschild. Who was it? Hold on a second. I got to figure this out. Christopher O'Brien meets Rockefeller. Mysterious Valley. Anyway, Christopher meets with one of the most one of the richest people on the planet, because there are these weird cattle mutilations going on in the Mysterious Valley, as well as like bolides and asteroids exploding over mountain ranges. And then when people went to go look at what happened, all these trees were knocked over and artifacts were discovered, and just all this weird stuff was taking place. And so this guy was paying Christopher to go out and figure out what was going on, and Christopher was sharing his information with him. And it's quite fascinating, Christopher's work that he did. And so my point is, like, a lot of times I think we give the money funders a little more credit than we should, because we think they've got it all figured out. And they might have a lot of stuff figured out. But as far as our true history and our true origins outside of mythology and outside of these different mystery school degrees, etc., and these initiations and these symbols, like, how much do we really know? Do we really know what happened 1 million years ago? And if we have lineages that are linked to Mars, like if as a species we have some type of DNA connected to Mars, I find that fascinating and highly plausible. And that doesn't surprise me. And I also see this as being like, we're going back to Mars to colonize Mars again, and we're going to uncover technologies there that are buried in the sand. Like, that's going to be the militaries that get out there first are going to get the best toys. They're going to get the best weapons. They're going to get the best reverse engineered technologies. Same as the moon. Like, and I think that there's probably so much stuff on the moon. The reason we don't, because have you ever noticed the footage usually always looks the same? Whether it's, miles away or it's like right there on the surface, the footage that they show us of the moon, it always looks kind of the same to me. And I mean, I definitely think we've been there. I think we're there right now. I have very little doubt of that. I do question some of the footage that they share with us, but that's just my own thing, and I'm not here to debate that. But I definitely see a future where this solar, and that's actually one of the things that's talked about. And there's this equation about ETs, like, why don't we see Dyson spheres all over the place right now? Well, guess what, folks? Recent research suggests that we found approximately 60 to 70 candidates for Dyson spheres around stars. So that's a pretty good start. But the more technology, the more advanced we get, the more stuff we're finding in space. Now, with this theory, imagine us here in the Milky Way. We're tucked away here in the Milky Way. Milky Way is like a piece, it's like a speck of sand on a galactic beach as far as the amount of galaxies there are in the universe, the amount of planets in each galaxy, the amount of stars in each galaxy, etc. So we're hanging out here in the Milky Way, and we're looking for life. And why don't we see life abundantly? Like, why aren't we picking stuff up on a regular basis with our telescopes and with our technologies? Well, we're starting to pick stuff up more often and more frequent. But imagine there being more of a possibly even universal reset, or something that, like, it's like a pulse. It's something that's so big that if there are a trillion other Earths in this universe, their civilizations kind of rise and fall similar to the way that we do. And then other planets out there and other colonies out there that might even might have a much faster advanced technological capabilities because their environments are far friendlier. It's a lot easier for them to be in an environment where they don't have to worry about earthquakes or solar flares or asteroids or comets or extreme weather. The gravitation and the DNA and the lifespans, et cetera, are far longer. That's all very plausible. And I think that one of the scary thoughts that has been brought up about the ET phenomena, like, why don't we see them everywhere? And if we're finding artifacts on different planets, if we're finding artifacts on Mars as an example, but where do they go? Why aren't they there anymore? I mean, if you've got a 1,000,000-year-old pyramid that can actually rebuild the atmosphere on Mars, why the hell is it just sitting there? Where's Arnold? Why hasn't he pushed the button yet? What happened? Whoa. The fan just turned on all by itself right when I said that. Arnold, where are you? Quaid, use your mind, Quaid. Use your mind, Quaid. Let's take a look at the Viking. This is where the first location that they remote viewed. Verifying you are human. How did you verify I was a human? You have no idea if I'm human or not. Could be a reptilian shapeshifter. Hanging out with my human friends. Cheers, human friends. This is a mosaic of several Viking orbiter frames from Orbit 35 showing the objects under consideration on the surface of Mars. The image covers an area roughly 70 by 40 kilometers. The face near the center of the picture is located at approximately 41 north latitude and 9.5 east longitude. That's exactly what they remote viewed. The face on Mars. They remote viewed the face on Mars. It's a huge freaking object. It's 1,000,000 years old. How amazing is that? If that doesn't blow your freaking mind, then, like, my mind's blown if your mind's not blown. This is incredible. This is amazing. This is the golden ticket to disclosure right here. Boom. I don't care how many CGI images they come out with after this saying, oh, well, if you look at the shadow, it's like pareidolia, you know? I mean, you could tell it's like, we looked at our trigonometry and then we combined some swamp gas, and based on the calculations, you can see the shadow, man. Pareidolia. Wow, you can see the pyramids next to it. The pyramids are next to it. You've got 5-sided pyramids. Well, you know, we look at the trigonometry and it shows that it's... Now, this looks like a pancake from IHOP, but it's actually craters on Mars with a little bit of a smiley face. It's like, yo, would you like some high fructose corn syrup? Bobby's going to save us from the high fructose corn syrup. Bobby, I salute you, man. Seriously. Let's make America healthy again. I would love to help make America healthy again. I would be honored to help. So anyway, cool, right? We're freaking going to Mars again. That's what I'm talking about. Hello. Hi, have you been to Mars? Why, yes, I have. I remote viewed it last night. It was amazing. Look at this. So back to the articles here. ICE raids and immigration policy updates. Foot traffic drops 50% in busy Chicago shopping district known as Mexico of the Midwest as Trump immigration raids loom. And the Panama Canal, a 51-mile artificial waterway in Panama that connects the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, significantly reducing maritime travel distances. So this goes all the way back to the 16th century. And in the late 19th century, a French endeavor led by Ferdinand de Lesseps, who had successfully overseen the construction of the Suez Canal, attempted to build the canal but failed due to engineering challenges and dis-ease. The United States took over the project in the early 20th century, negotiating the Haibunau-Varilla Treaty with Panama in 1903. Granted U.S. rights to construct and control the canal. Construction was completed in 1914, marking a significant engineering achievement. Interesting. And then the United States exercised sovereignty over the Panama Canal Zone, a 10-mile wide area surrounding the canal. Over time, Panamanian nationalism and calls for sovereignty led to negotiations resulting in the Torrijos-Carter Treaties signed in 1977 by U.S. President Jimmy Carter and Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos. These treaties outlined the gradual transfer of control of the canal to Panama, culminating on December 31st, 1999, when the Panama Canal Authority, a Panamanian government agency, assumed full control. So what's China's involvement? Well, this is what the news is saying. In recent years, Chinese companies have increased their presence in Panama, notably through infrastructure investments. Hong Kong-based Hutchison Whampoa operates ports at both ends of the canal. However, the Panama Canal Authority maintains full control over canal operations, and Panamanian officials assert that there is no foreign interference in its administration. So, recent developments. January 2025, U.S. President Donald Trump expressed a desire to take back the Panama Canal, citing concerns over its strategic importance and alleged Chinese influence. Panama's President Jose Raul Mulino firmly rejected these assertions, emphasizing Panama's sovereignty over the canal and denying any foreign control. Analysts suggest that while Chinese investments in the region have grown, the canal remains under Panamanian administration, and any U.S. attempt to reclaim it would face significant legal and diplomatic challenges. You can read about that, The Guardian, The Times, and Sunday Times. In response to U.S. President Donald Trump's assertions regarding the Panama Canal, Chinese officials have emphasized their respect for Panama's sovereignty and denied any interference in the canal's operations. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning stated China has always respected Panama's sovereignty over the Panama Canal and has never interfered in its operations. Additionally, Chinese investments in Panama, such as those by Hong Kong-based Hutchison Whampoa, operating ports at both ends of the canal, are characterized by Chinese authorities as purely commercial endeavors. They assert that these activities do not equate to control over the canal's operations, and overall, China's official stance is to support Panama's autonomous management of the canal, dismissing claims of exerting control or influence over this critical maritime passage. Read all about it. So there's still a lot going on with the drones. SUV sized. And you know what was interesting was when the recent whistleblower that came out and said he used to be a part of a recovery crew that would pick up crashed craft, whether they were exotic military craft or something non-human intelligence. And then there's that footage, night vision, showing that they're on a helicopter and they're picking up this looks like a perfectly smooth egg UAP. And then he talked about a time when he picked up this other object and he had a spiritual connection with it, that it basically possessed him and had this amazing energy that it shared with him. And then I told you about my friend Jimmy, that's a retired fighter or retired helicopter pilot, and he had an amazing experience with non-human intelligence in his cabin when his wife was there that forever changed his life. Very interesting. But there's a lot still going on with these mystery drones. But I found it interesting that he mentioned the size of that egg was about an SUV sized. And the way that he did it was almost like he was coerced to say it's SUV sized. I almost feel like the people at News Nation said, say it's SUV sized, even though it probably was. He probably described it about the same size as an SUV, but the SUV, but they're like, say it's an SUV size, so we can just get that verbiage going. Because when he said it, it didn't feel as natural as some of the other stuff that he had said, but I could be way off here. I wonder how many drones that have been reported as just drones are actually more along the lines of these UAPs. Highly exotic, possibly military, possibly reverse engineered, but super high tech, no markings, no moving parts on the outside. But I wonder what's inside of that thing. Could it actually be made up of a specific material that can then be controlled via wireless technology somehow? So like the material itself wouldn't necessarily, no, I don't know. I think there's got to be something inside of the egg. That's just got to be a shell. Take the shell off. You're going to find the yolk. The yolk's going to have all sorts of stuff in it. These military drones, though, I've been doing research into the military drones and the future of drones, the future of surveillance, the future of military combat. And I have some interesting stuff I want to share with you as well in a moment here. But Germany now has authorization to neutralize unidentified drones. The German government has granted its military the authority to neutralize unidentified drones suspected of espionage over military installations and critical infrastructure. Recent sightings, including over the Ramstein Air Base, have raised suspicions of foreign involvement, particularly from Russia or China. These drones exhibit advanced capabilities, resisting interference and differing from standard commercial models. Other European nations, such as Denmark, have also reported increased unidentified drone activity over their facilities. El HuffPost. Now, NATO has deployed the Blue Whale submarine drone system. That's these submarine drones, and 36-foot stealth submarine drone in the Baltic Sea. NATO deployed this autonomous drone developed by Israeli firm Elta and weighing 5.5 tons. Isn't it interesting? Like the defense contractors that work together now. I'm amazed, and that Germany and Israel are working together. It's quite fascinating how things have changed over the past 7 years. So it can reach depths of up to 984 feet, operate at speeds of 8 miles per hour, and remain submerged for up to 30 days. The deployment follows incidents involving underwater cables being cut, highlighting the need for enhanced maritime security, because there's been a multitude of communication cables that were severed from these like espionage attempts of dragging anchors on the bottom of the sea. New Jersey is still like daily sightings, not as intense as it was, but there's still sightings almost every day in New Jersey. But the description of these drones in New Jersey oftentimes is far different than a egg-shaped UAP that they're like described as planes, basically small planes. And so how are these things disappearing, folks? I keep asking, how are they disappearing? How are they showing up? Why are they being seen over reservoirs? Unless there's something more to it. Like, because if you're a UAP, if you're of a certain exotic craft that can go in and out of water, a reservoir would be a perfect place to evade capture. You shoot into the reservoir, you go through a complex network of tunnels and underground systems, and then you could shoot out of another reservoir somewhere completely different. And then we've also had reports of the Coast Guard being surrounded by these UAPs, where they came out of the ocean on the East Coast. How are airplanes or drones that look like airplanes coming out of the ocean unless they're actually being brought up to the surface and then they shoot from the surface? But to have 60 of those things, 60 SUV-sized planes shoot out of the ocean and have 12 of those track a 47-foot Coast Guard vessel is very, very interesting to me. And the Coast Guard guys, they didn't say exactly what they look like that I recall, but they made it very clear that they weren't your typical planes or helicopters or swamp gas. They were actually really upset about the incident. So there's still a lot going on with the drones. And I'm still waiting to hear from President Trump I'm still waiting to hear what he has to say about these drones, because we haven't been provided with a detailed explanation yet regarding these mystery drones like he said he was going to share with us. So President Trump pledged to release a comprehensive report on the origins and activities of these drones about 1 day into his administration. That was on Newsweek, reported on Newsweek. However, as to this date, no such report has been made public, and the administration has not issued further statements clarifying the situation. So Operation Lone Star. So not only do we have military going to the border, there's a bunch of Texas National Guard there already. And they've been arresting a lot of people. I mean, look at this. Apprehensions and arrests as of July 19th, 2024, OLS has led to over 516,300 illegal immigrant apprehensions and more than 45,300 criminal arrests, including over 39,400 felony charges. Texas Department of Public Safety. There's been fentanyl seizures. In efforts to combat the fentanyl crisis, Texas law enforcement has seized more than 505 million lethal doses of fentanyl during this border mission. Migrant relocation. The operation includes a program to bus migrants to sanctuary cities across the United States. As of June 2024, approximately 119,200 migrants have been transported under this initiative. That's probably going to change now. Operation Lone Star has faced several legal challenges. Interstate collaboration. Governor Abbott requested assistance from other states through the Emergency Management Assistance Compact. June 2023, 14 states had sent approximately 500 National Guard and law enforcement officers to support Texas's border security efforts, with Florida providing the most additional personnel. Operation Lone Star, which was initiated March 2021, Texas Governor Greg Abbott has seen varying levels of National Guard deployment over time. At its peak, approximately 10,000 National Guard members were assigned to the operation. However, by November 2022, it was reduced to about 6,000 troops. As of January 2025, the number of National Guard personnel participating has not been publicly disclosed. The operation continues to adapt its resources in response to evolving border security needs. We'll keep you posted. Now, it's interesting because recently, China came out with this technology that they're claiming to be 6th generation stealth technology. There was a stealth drone and a stealth bomber that came out. And then Japan, there were scientists in Japan that wrote an article about this 6th generation, saying that it's not a 6th generation stealth fighter. So I started looking into like what actually classifies something as a 6th generation stealth fighter. Do we have 6th generation technologies? What's our latest technologies? And it's very interesting because according to the public information, if China's stealth craft is actually 6th generation stealth, that's above and beyond what the US and the UK is publicly disclosing, which is obviously going to give them a great excuse to show their new 6th or 7th generation stealth fighters. But we've got the B-21s. Then there's what's called the USS Zumwalt destroyer. The U.S. Navy is retrofitting the USS Zumwalt, a stealth destroyer with hypersonic missile capabilities. And then there's the XQ-58A Valkyrie unmanned aircraft, which in coordination with F-35 Lightning II jets, the loyal wingman concept aims to extend the reach and capabilities of manned aircraft. So it's like working in tandem with F-35s. Wouldn't that be scary if you're in a little village and you are like, just minding your own business, farming, you're like hanging out at high elevation, enjoying your day. And then all of a sudden you see these like stealth craft and they're just getting closer and closer, and your cows and your chickens are freaking out. Pretty wild. But anyway, so I'm like, well, what about 6th generation tech? And it looks like the UK is working on a 6th generation fighter, but it's not going to come out until 2035. And then we've got as of January 2022, the United States is not officially fielded a 6th-generation stealth fighter. The U.S. Air Force's next-generation air dominance program aims to develop such an aircraft to succeed the F-22 Raptor, which is a prototype of the NGAD, reportedly conducted its inaugural flight in 2020. So this is like what makes a 6th-generation fighter. 5th generation, stealth optimized for radar evasion using materials and shaping. 6th generation uses multispectral stealth that reduces detectability across a broader range of sensors, including infrared, acoustic, electronic, and visual detection. Then you've got artificial intelligence integration. So 5th gen has AI-assisted systems, predictive maintenance, threat detection. 6th gen is using AI as a co-pilot, capable of assisting with complex decision-making, managing large amounts of battlefield data, and even enabling autonomous missions. Whoa. Then you've got network-centric warfare. 5th gen, basic data sharing, communication capabilities between aircraft. 6th gen is advanced systems of systems, approach enabling seamless integration with drones, loyal wingmen, satellites, and other battlefield assets for real-time situational awareness and multi-domain operations. Whoa. That sounds exciting. Get the Neuralink. You can do it all in your brain. You'll turn into a stealth fighter. You'll be like, all right, brain, rewire my nanobots so that I can now become a transformer. I would like to be a 7th generation orb that can travel through time and space. No, let's make it a sphere. Go. Bank.
Autobots, I am Optimus Prime.
Oh, Optimus, you are no match for me and the Decepticons. I am Megatron. We will destroy you.
We meet again, Megatron. I have been upgraded to Optimus Prime Rate Mortgage. Or Optimus Prime Rib.
Oh, really?
Okay, so anyway, we've got 5th gen, 6th gen, then you've got the loyal wingmen and the swarming systems. 5th gen is primarily piloted missions with limited unmanned integration. 6th gen is ability to command a fleet of autonomous drones or loyal wingmen for reconnaissance, electronic warfare, and even strikes, acting as force multipliers. I think Sweden's working on a project now where one of their soldiers can control 100 different drones in the battlefield. One dude, 100 drones. Wow. That's what I'm talking about. And then you Neuralink it all to your brain, and you don't even have to like write it down. You think it does it. And then you could actually combine that where it would download a part of your personality so that you would link to it neurally. The future of drones is going to be a neural link connected to the actual, if it's in the battlefield, it's going to have some type of genetic connection to that individual. It's going to be a biosynthetic connection that's going to allow them even faster, faster response times, more capabilities. They could you've got 100 autonomous drones integrated with you at the same time where you're working in synchronization together. You could send 10 out for reconnaissance. You could send 10 out behind the 10. You could send 10 out for decoys. And then you could have the other 60 or 70 individually programmed all through the mind. That's wow. Whoa. That's like 7th gen right there. That's 6th gen. So directed energy weapons, 5th gen, primarily kinetic weapons like missiles and bombs, 6th generation integration of directed energy weapons, lasers, microwave systems, missile defense, electronic warfare, anti-aircraft operations. Woo! Man, I want some boomer boost for that. Boomer boost. Boomerboost.com. Use code REX20. You'll get 20% off. Stuff's freaking amazing. Take it every day. Boomer Boost and Gladiator barley freaks me out. I'm like, yes. So anyway, now we're going from subsonic, supersonic cruise speeds like 5th gen. That's 5th gen. Supersonic speed of sound, Mach 2, maybe Mach 2.5, 1,214 miles an hour. Now 6th gen, we're talking hypersonic cruise speeds. Hypersonic, that's 5 times plus the speed of sound. 3,000 miles an hour and above. 6th gen. Adaptive airframes. You've got static, stealth-focused designs for the 5th gen. 6th, here we go. This is it. They're using 6th generation drones to freak people out. That describes it right there. Boom. Nailed it. What were we saying yesterday? And Greg, I need to get back to you, bro. Greg's like, I have some information on that. Greg's a stud. He's a rocket scientist. Anyway, I was mentioning the possibility of these drones being able to morph shape and morph colors and add colors and lights and do all this kind of stuff. That's right there. Adaptive airframes, 6th generation adaptive morphing airframes that adjust to mission profiles, improving agility and performance. Hello. Longer range and persistence. 5th gen, moderate range, relying on aerial refueling for extended operations. 6th generation, larger internal fuel capacity, more efficient engines for longer missions without support. Resilience to electronic warfare. 5th gen, vulnerable to advanced electronic jamming and cyber attacks. 6th gen, built with robust anti-jamming and cyber resilient systems to counter electronic warfare threats. United States is working on the NGAD program, the United Kingdom, the GCAP, Japan, the F3, and China has just showed off the J-20, 6th generation fighter stealth jet. And then Japan was saying, well, it's not a 6th gen because it uses 3 engines. Well, China comes back and they're like, oh yeah, well, one of these engines is for a freaking laser cannon. And I'm just like, whoa. Laser cannon, 6th gen, that's insane, but it sounds so exciting. We're gonna have Obi-Wan takes on Darth Vader, and then Anakin, and then Luke Skywalker. It's gonna be amazing. So we've got supersonic, Mach 1 to Mach 5. It's so fun. So fun. And then yeah, so sonic booms, sonic boom, sonic boom. Remember that? Guile from Street Fighter 2? Sonic boom. And then Ken would be like, I'm gonna look it. I'm gonna look it. Sonic boom, sonic boom. Walk, 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 walk.
We are the dis-
All right, I'll stop. I'm sorry. Hypersonic is Mach 5 and above. Intense heat generation. Achieve glide capabilities for high-speed maneuverabilities. So what are some examples? Well, missiles like Russia's Avangard, China's DF-ZF, Mach 10 plus, and U.S. hypersonic air-breathing weapon concept, Hawk. 10 plus, that's wow. Now, you've got aircraft like the hypersonic test vehicle, NASA's X-43, which is pushing Mach 9.6, and DARPA's HTV-2, which is pushing Mach 20. I want to see that. DARPA loves you so much. HTV-2. All right, I'll get to that in a minute. So we've got recent developments about the egg-shaped UAP, and I really thought that I was watching people do like spoofs on the UAP, and I thought it was kind of funny, actually. But some people got offended, where they were like capturing eggs with a rope and a little piece of duct tape. You know, they're like, "Look, dude, we got the egg." Well, we used night vision and a helicopter to pick up that egg, boy. I like your egg scrambled. No, I'd like it over-fried. So recent developments bringing attention to these egg-shaped UFOs. Barber, Air Force veteran Jake Barber claims to have witnessed a non-human egg-shaped aircraft during his tenure in a covert government program. Barber described the object as metallic, pearly white egg, approximately the size of an SUV. Lacking any visible engine or thermal signatures, he observed the object from about 100 feet away while operating under night vision goggles, and his account is supported by video footage and corroborated with 3 other veterans. News Nation. They showed the footage. You can watch it. Hunting UFOs, the crash retrieval whistleblower. And I was like I was thinking to myself, you know, how would President Trump bring in Mexico and Canada and Greenland into the North American Union? Like, what would be some ways to do that? Obviously, economic pressure. Is that going to be enough? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few years, or even over the next few months. President Donald Trump has articulated an ambitious vision to expand American presence to Mars, emphasizing a new era of space exploration. In his recent inaugural address, he declared the intent to send U.S. astronauts to Mars, stating American astronauts will plant the stars and stripes on planet Mars, aligning this endeavor with the historical concept of manifest destiny. Obviously, President Trump has appointed Jared Isaacman, a seasoned space traveler and former CEO of Shift 4 Payments, as the new NASA administrator, succeeding Bill Nelson. This leadership change is expected to steer NASA's focus towards accelerated Mars exploration. Right on. And obviously, Elon Musk, the man, the myth, the legend, CEO of SpaceX and head of the newly formed Department of Government Efficiency, DOGGY, has expressed strong support for this mission. Musk advocates for prioritizing Mars colonization, viewing lunar missions as secondary. He envisions launching crewed missions to Mars by 2028, aiming to establish a self-sustaining city on the red planet. Investors Business Daily. The administration's commitment to Mars has influenced the space industry significantly. Companies like Rocket Lab USA include... I got to slow down. It's getting hot in here, man. Smoke's coming out of my head. Woo! I got to lubricate it. There we go. All right, what else we got? Here we go. You heard about the Stargate project, the 500 billion. Oh, that's how they got everybody together. Way to go. That makes sense now. How are we going to get all the tech leaders to show up except for maybe Uncle Bill? How do we get the rest of them to show up? Let's start a new $500 billion artificial intelligence Stargate project in Tech Valley. That makes sense. That might motivate some tech leaders to show up and give me a little support. Well, check this out. January 21st, 2025, President Donald Trump announced a significant initiative to bolster the United States artificial intelligence infrastructure through a joint venture named Stargate. This collaboration involves major technology companies, OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle, collectively committing up to $500 billion over the next 4 years, starting with an initial $100 billion investment. WSJ. The primary objective of Stargate is to establish advanced data centers across the U.S., beginning in Texas. These facilities aim to enhance AI capabilities with applications spanning from improved health record management to the development of individualized vaccines. The project is also expected to generate over 100,000 American jobs, reflecting a significant boost to the economy. Tech leaders such as Sam Altman, OpenAI, Masayoshi Son, SoftBank, and Larry Ellison, Oracle, were present at the White House for the announcement, underscoring the strong partnership between the private sector and the government in advancing AI technologies. This initiative aligns with the administration's goal to maintain U.S. leadership in AI amidst global competition. The Stargate project, while initiated during the previous administration, has received renewed support under President Trump's leadership. The venture is privately funded with contributions from international partners like MGX and SoftBank, and does not involve U.S. government funds. Construction has already commenced in Texas with the initial $100 billion investment, facilitating the development of infrastructure necessary for AI advancements. They're moving some of that tech down to Texas. That's a smart idea. Big oil, big tech, big money. America! Oh, yeah! This substantial investment underscores the strategic importance of AI. I think it's about time. In driving economic growth and addressing critical issues such as healthcare by fostering collaboration between leading tech companies and the government, the Stargate initiative aims to position the U.S. at the forefront of AI innovation and application. There you go. Here's what I wanted to see, the DARPA HTV-2 Hypersonic Technology Vehicle 2.0. an experimental hypersonic aircraft developed by DARPA. It was part of a broader effort to demonstrate and test technologies for sustained hypersonic flight. Here's an overview. 13,000 miles an hour, enabling global reach within an hour. Constructed with advanced thermal protection systems to withstand temperatures up to 3,500 Fahrenheit caused by atmospheric friction. That's a lot of friction. Do you ever feel a little friction in the room? You know what I'm talking about? It gets a little awkward. So aerodynamically optimized for sustained hypersonic glide. Oh, man. Hypersonic glide. After thermal protection. Is it getting hot in here? Is it just me? The Earth's atmosphere. It's the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. Gotta calm down in here. It's getting hot. So, mission goals. I know, right? You're like, Rex, shut up and read the rest of the paper. Demonstrate the feasibility of hypersonic travel. Collect data on aerodynamics, thermal protection, and navigation systems for future of hypersonic applications. You got to slide that glide. Hypersonic glide, oh yeah, because it's thermally protected. Oh, it's got exotic materials that it uses. You're going to love it. It's amazing. The vibration is incredible. Out of this world. They call it the Explorer. Oh, man. Everybody left. Sorry. I love you all. Have a beautiful day. So, okay, flight tests. They did launch it in 2010. It was launched aboard a Minotaur rocket. Of course it was a Minotaur rocket. Of course it was. It had that single horn, that big horn right in the center. My rocket is a Minotaur rocket, super glide, electric glide, hyperslide. Oh, it's the most powerful rocket you'll ever see. We launch it in space all the time. Oh, yes, Jeff tried to launch his rocket like Dr. Evil, but it has nothing compared to my hypersonic glide rocket. There are challenges, though. You do? I'll show you an egg. So you've got thermal stress, you've got navigation and control challenges, and communication. So these are some of the challenges when launching a 13,000 mile an hour rocket. Pretty cool. Hypersonic air-breathing weapon concept. That sounds amazing. Who wants to sign up for that? Sign me up. I think it sounds cool. So I don't know how you feel about the North American Union, but here's a flag. And they already tried to come out with the Amero. Now the future Amero, it's going to be a digital. It'll be the digital Amero. But they're going to change the name because the people that were behind the Amero, I don't think are connected to the current administration. But I could be wrong. There could be some connections there, but I don't think so. The North American Union, though, has been talked about for over 150 years. And it looks like we're getting closer to a North American Union. Once that happens, then we're going to launch to Mars. We're going to put a flag on Mars, and we're going to hang out with some Martians if they will invite us into their chambers. And also, we had a lot of fun here reading the exploration of Mars. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day. And check us out on Patreon. And I hope to see you for the free webinar that's coming up via Zoom. Just send me an email, and I'll get you on the invite list. Also, the number's in there, so you can send me a text. And we'll have some fun. And I'm all about going back to Mars. It's where I grew up. It's my hometown. Well, not this lifetime, but anyway. So, be a change you want to see. America!